Good morning, everybody. I'd just like to run through Orecorp, its projects and its people. We're focused still on the Nyanzaga Gold Project in northern Tanzania. We've got a 3 million ounce, 4 gram mineral resource which we're looking to ultimately develop. We're just working through ownership and restructuring with the government. We've got a nice nickel, copper, cobalt story in Mauritania that we're currently divesting and just entered into the Hobbs Gold Project in Western Australia. Got a very experienced board and we're still well cashed up with 11 million at Treasury. Just have a quick look through just a quick look through our board and management, dominated by former Equinox and Mantra Resources people. We've got a very good shareholder base there, around about 600 shareholders, and a good institutional register with JP Morgan, West Oz, Oz Super and Sprott, and then several other smaller institutions. Still have just over 200 million shares on issue and a good supportive shareholder base. In terms of the ownership of Nyanzaga, it's long been a bugbear of ours that we needed to tidy up. We concluded this last year and now working through government approvals. Caesar's moved to 51% with the Mining Commission approval. This is a new organ within the Tanzanian government, so the approval process has been a lot slower than we'd have anticipated. That said, we are making progress, are moving forward. When we get to the approval to go to 51%, we pay $3 million US, and we ultimately then wait for the grant of our special mining licence and pay a further $7 million to Acacia to ultimately arrive with 100% ownership of the project. In terms of the gold mining jurisdiction in Tanzania, 2017 and 18 saw sweeping legislative changes. This is increase in royalty rate, increase in government participation from 0 to 16%, plethora of other changes as well, which are going to make ultimately financing a challenge. That's largely been exacerbated by, you probably followed the bum fight between Acacia and the government, and then Barrick have stepped in. It's just a slide updating everybody on that, and in February this year it looks like they are making steady progress now, and it'll be great when this is resolved because I think it'll help all involved. In terms of where we are in Tanzania, we sit in the Northern Lakes region. We are in probably some of the best endowed greenstone belts in the world. You'll see there that there's Bulyanhulu at 17 million ounces, Gator at 13. The region has produced over 20 million ounces in the past 20 years with a further 40 million ounces proximal to Nyanzaga. We've also got fantastic infrastructure, water out of the lake, power to the north and south, good roads, also good trained staff out of Mwanza and so on and so forth. We are intending to have both an open pit and underground. Both of these skill sets are readily available in country. Focusing on the resource, when we inherited the project, it was 100 million tonnes at a bit over a gram. The brief to the geologist was go back, relog all of the core. There was around about 250 kilometres of it. We then focused on a high-grade outcome and delivered 3 million ounces at 4 grams. The beauty of this deposit is that it is all in one deposit. It's not multiple pits or the typical West African string of pearls. It also is open at 800 metres depth. In terms of where it sits, on a sort of peer comparison of measured and indicated, you'll see it is an exceptional deposit, and both in size and grade. And unfortunately, our market cap doesn't reflect that, and we are very heavily undervalued against our peers. When we look at the production profile that we realised in the PFS study that we concluded around about 2 years ago now, you'll see that not only does that resource, or is that resource quite exceptional, it also delivers an exceptional outcome in terms of production, with 12 years at over 200,000 ounces a year. In terms of ounces per vertical metre, we've got roughly 4,200. You'll see it petering off there at 800. That isn't a function of the mineralisation dying out, but moreover the actual drilling density of the deposit. Pre-feasibility study was very detailed. We've then taken this and we'll then integrate the legislative changes as we move into the DFS. These numbers do not include the new legislative changes. We basically look at both a conventional open pit and underground. This is a view of the open pits, approximately 450 metres deep, stripping ratio of 3.7 to 1. We ultimately mine around about 1.8 million ounces out of this pit. That dovetails into an underground, and current plan is that we'll move 3 million tonnes out of the open pit per annum and 1 million tonnes out of the underground. 4 million tonnes in total, then move straight into a conventional CIL processing facility where we deliver 88% recoveries from what is relatively hard ore. In terms of the capital, pre-production capital prior to the legislative changes was just under 300 million at 287. This included around about 32 million of contingency. We now have to work back to look at this in terms of absorbing those costs with the new legislative changes, and similarly when we move to look at the operating costs as well, we need then also to absorb those costs so that we make sure we deliver ultimately the right outcome. So in terms of the definitive study, it's really all about optimisation. This is focusing on areas where we can cut both costs in capital and ultimately operating. In terms of the regulatory update and permitting, we're waiting, as I said earlier, for the ownership to conclude. That precipitates really when we get the SML granted. We have been assured that this is now sitting with Cabinet. This is a new process in the legislative regime, so we don't quite know what it looks like, but we have been assured that the licence is moving forward and ultimately will be granted relatively soon. We take our stakeholder engagement very seriously. I'm there 3 or 4 times a year. And basically we do this from all levels of the community, from site right the way up to the higher echelons of government. There's also great organic growth opportunities around Nyanzaga, and something that we've been focusing on whilst things have been quiet, whilst we're sorting the permitting now, and ultimately we'll be doing more drilling once the SML is granted. Now I'm just going to quickly jump across the continent to Mauritania, where we've got a nickel, copper, cobalt story that's been evolving over the past few years. We identified at the southern extremities of the Regenboek Shield, this nickel, copper, cobalt mineralisation outcropping at surface. We've gone into the area looking for iron oxide copper gold. You'll see Guelb-Mograine is around about 80 kilometres to the northwest of us. And we then subsequently carried systematic exploration out, evaluating this mineralisation. We identified large broad zones of sulphide mineralisation focused on anomaly 5, and then you'll see the Adorsa anomaly to the northeast of anomaly 5. These are big thick zones of sulphide mineralisation. Particularly at anomaly 5 we found around about 1 kilometre long of up to sort of massive sulphide mineralisation up to 63 metres thick downhole. We currently can't fund this as it sits at the moment, so we're basically looking to joint venture it out. Anybody who's interested, they could come past booth A3 and I'll give you some further details. In terms of exploration and wanting to maintain 2 projects within the portfolio, we completed started 9 months ago, an initiative in Western Australia targeting things a little bit close to home. We were prepared to take exploration risk in Australia and still focus on Tanzania whilst we pushed that along. That led us into what we call the Hobbs prospect, this 150 k's north east of Kalgoorlie, and it's situated in the Keith-Kilkenny tectonic zone, which is host to numerous multi-million ounce deposits. The work that had been done on the area over the past 10 or 20 years had identified 3 prospects at Hobbs, the Cassandra prospect and several others, and broad zones of supergene mineralisation up to 15 metres thick over several hundred metres. Probably in today's dollars you'd be looking at $4 or $6 million worth of work that's been done on this up to about 2006, but nothing really sensible since then. So whilst things are a bit slow in Tanzania, this on our back doorstep, we've got a very good earning with this. You'll see here where we've got these broad blankets of supergene mineralisation, several hundred metres in strike length and width, and also totally unfollowed up primary mineralisation. This is something that we can get on with and move forward as we wait for Tanzania to crystallise. So as we move forward, looking for opportunities, we're focused on things that are going to add value for the company. We've got a great opportunity in Tanzania and won't be walking away from that, but we've also got growth opportunities at Hobbs and other business development opportunities that come forward. Thank you very much for your attention.